Hi guys, my name is Tutor Olaleko Israel, your prep class tutor, and I am super excited to welcome you to a wonderful session of Learning with Prep Class. Now, in today's session, we will be answering questions from the JAMB English 2019 past questions. Now, in this video, we will be answering just question 11 to question 15. Remember, the purpose of this session is to help you prepare for your forthcoming JAMB examination. So, let's embark on this journey of learning together. Before we begin, take a moment of your time to subscribe to this channel, turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Alright, let's get down to the business of the day. Question 11. Now, the instruction reads, in each of the questions 11 to 13, choose the option, that shouldn't be options, it should be option without an S. Choose the option that best completes the gap or gaps as the case may be. Now, question 11 reads, my neighbor bruised his thigh while playing football. My neighbor bruised his thigh while playing football. Now, looking at what we have on the screen, there's a word that is written in capital letters, bruised. Now, this word is an example of an emphatic stress. An emphatic stress is a situation where a particular word is stressed, is given emphasis within a sentence. Now, the options we have are A. Did your neighbor break his leg while playing tennis? B. Did your neighbor fracture his thigh while playing football? C. Was your neighbor involved in an accident? D. Did your neighbor play football yesterday? Now, to answer questions on emphatic stress, there are a number of rules that you must follow. The first one is any option that contains the emphasized word. Any option that contains the emphasized word should not be chosen as the answer. Now, the emphasized word in this sentence is bruised. So, any option that contains the emphasized word should not be chosen as the answer. The second rule is where the word that receives the emphatic stress is not in any of the options, you are required to look out for its opposite in the options. So, if we cannot find the emphasized word in the options, you have to look for its opposite in the options. Now, the third rule is most times the sentence with the emphatic stress, that is the question itself now, the sentence with the emphatic stress will serve as a correct answer to one of the options. I'll go over that again. Most times the sentence with the emphatic stress, that is the question in this instance now, the sentence with the emphatic stress will serve as a correct answer to one of the options. Now, that option is the answer. That option that serves, that the question serves as a correct answer to is the answer to this question. Now, the answer to this question is option B. Did your neighbor fracture his thigh while playing football? Remember, the emphasized word is bruised. Now, the rule states that any option that contains the emphasized word should not be chosen as the answer. Now, looking at the options we have, there is no option that contains the emphasized word. Okay, we are good with that first rule. The second rule states that where the word that receives the emphatic stress is not in any of the options. We already saw that the emphasized word is not in any of the options. You are required to look out for its opposite in the options. So, what is the opposite of bruised? Now, the opposite of bruised is fracture. Remember, we have to look for the opposite of the emphasized word in the option. Now, option A, we have break, which is also what an opposite of the emphasized word. But when you look at option A, you have, did your neighbor break his leg? You're not talking about leg. The question does not have anything to do with leg. What the question has something to do with is thigh. So option B says, did your neighbor fracture his thigh while playing football? Now let's take a look at the last rule. The last rule says that most times, the sentence with the emphatic stress will serve as a correct answer to one of the options. That option is the answer. Now let's look at that option we chose as our answer. Did your neighbor fracture his thigh while playing football? Now the question will serve as an answer. No, my neighbor bruised his thigh while playing football. He did not fracture his thigh. That is why emphasis is on bruised. Question 12. My mother served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner. Now, mother is carrying the emphatic stress in this sentence. So option A is, did your mother serve rice and fresh fish? Option B, Who served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner? Option C. What kind of meal did your mother serve for dinner? Option D. What kind of stew did your mother serve for dinner? Remember, mother is the emphasized word in this sentence. Now, let's look at the rules for emphatic stress. Number 1. Any option that contains the emphasized word should not be chosen as the answer. Number 2. Where the word that receives the emphatic stress is not in any of the options, you are required to look out for its opposite in the options. Number 3. Most times, the sentence with the emphatic stress will serve as the correct answer to one of the options. That option is the answer. Now, what this means is that the sentence in the question will serve as an answer to one of the options, and that option is the answer to the question. Now, the answer to this question is option B. Remember, mother is the emphasized word. So when you say, who served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner? The answer you get is, mother served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner. My mother served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner. Emphasis on mother. Remember, we are not to select any option that contains the emphasized word. Now, looking at option A, option C, and option D, they contain the emphasized word, which is mother. But option B now, who served the rice and fresh fish stew for dinner? Now, the question in the sentence now serves as the answer. My mother served rice and fresh fish stew for dinner. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Question 13. The president spoke to the press. Now, the word emphasized here is spoke. So option A, did the president write to the press? Option B, did the president speak to the press? Option C, who spoke to the press? Option D, are these the pressmen the president spoke to? Remember, the emphasized word here is spoke. So what is the answer to this question? Let's check the rules for emphatic stress. The first rule states that any option that contains the emphasized word should not be chosen as the answer. Where the word that receives the emphatic stress is not in any of the options, you are required to look out for its opposite in the options. Rule 3. Most times, the sentence with the emphatic stress will serve as the correct answer to one of the options. That option is the answer. Now, the answer to this question is option A. Did the president write to the press? No. The president spoke to the press. He did not write, he spoke. That is why emphasis is on spoke. Now, looking at the other options, in option B we have speak, in option C we have spoke, and in option D we have spoke. Remember, the rule states that we are not supposed to select any option that contains the emphasized word. So option B, C, and D contains the emphasized word. So we are selecting option A, which is, did the president write to the press? Remember, the second rule states that where the word that receives the emphatic stress is not in any of the options, you are required to look out for its opposite in the options. Now, looking at option A, the opposite of spoke is write. So, did the president write to the press? No, the president spoke to the press. So, the statement, the president spoke to the press, is serving as an answer to, did the president write to the press? No, the president spoke to the press. Emphasis on spoke. That is why spoke is receiving the emphatic stress. Moving on to the next question, question 14. Now, we have instructions for questions 14 and 15. In each of the questions 14 to 15, choose the appropriate stress pattern for the options. Choose the appropriate stress pattern for the options. The syllables are written in capital letters. Question 14, we have subordinate. Now, option A, we have the stress on the first syllable, saw. Option B, we have the stress on the second syllable, ball. Option C, we have the stress on the third syllable, ba. And option D, we have the stress on the last syllable, knit. So which of these is the correct answer to this question? Where is the stress supposed to be placed on this word, subordinate? Now, it is important to know that for stress, affixes are usually unstressed. What are affixes? Affixes are words or morphemes that are added to the beginning of a word or the end of a word. affixes are usually unstressed. So for the word suburbanate, which was generated from the word urban, and urban is a noun, sub is a prefix, ite is a suffix. So sub and ite are affixes, they are not usually stressed. So the root word urban, which is a noun, carries the stress on its first syllable, urb. Urban carries the stress on its first syllable, urb, because every bisyllabic noun, every two-syllable noun carries the stress on the first syllable. Remember, sub, sub, and ite are affixes, they do not carry stress. So the root word urban would receive the stress, and for every bisyllabic noun, for every two-syllable noun like urban, the stress is always on the first syllable. So this makes the word suburbanate stressed on its second syllable. So when you pronounce suburbanate, you can hear the stress on the second syllable, suburbanate. It is pronounced louder and longer than every other syllable. So the answer to this question is option B. So the answer to this question is suburbanate. Bur is receiving the stress as the second syllable, going by our analysis. So moving on to the next question, question number 15. The word we have is departmentalize. Now, which of the syllables is to carry the stress? Now, option A, the stress is to be on men. That is the third syllable. Option B, the stress is supposed to be on the second syllable, part. Option C, the stress should be on the first syllable, D. And option D, the stress should be on the fourth syllable, ta. So, which of these options shows the correct placement of stress on the word departmentalize? Now, for polysyllabic words that end in IZE, eyes. For polysyllabic words that end in IZE, eyes, they can either be stressed on the third syllable from the end of the word or the fourth syllable from the end of the word. For polysyllabic words that end in IZE, eyes, they can either be stressed on the third syllable from the end of the word or the fourth syllable from the end of the word. For departmentalize, the stress is placed on the third syllable from the end of the word, which is men. For departmentalize, the stress is placed on the third syllable from the end of the word, which is men. Departmentalize. So when you pronounce departmentalize, you can hear that men is pronounced louder and longer, departmentalize. So the answer to this question is option A. Men is stressed. The third syllable from the end of the word receives the stress. And with that, we've come to the end of this wonderful session. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Also, like this post, comment, drop your questions in the comment section. We would like to hear from you. We would like to hear your opinions on these videos. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day.